Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'm going to be playing with something from Artesprix, playing with a lot of the stuff there, but a new blank. I have not gotten anything like this and it is huge, so it's going to take a bit for me to get this covered. So now it kind of looks like I've got just something big and white on my desk. I know. That's because I've actually got a couple of these and I wanted to show you what they each look like. First off, we've got this back that is white on this one, but on the front we've got sequins. So I'm going to be using one of the sequin pillowcases from Artesprix. This is huge. So we've got one that is backed in white. The sequins on this one are silver. This one backed in black, and the back of the sequins are black. And then the one I'm going to play with today is this one. We've got this nice kind of rosy color on the back, and then we've got rose gold behind the sequins. Yeah, I think this is so pretty. Anyway, I just opened one of them. I did not realize that they were different until I just went back and looked at them right before starting to record. But look at that. That is going to be so fun. Yes. Okay, so the measurements on this are 16 by 16. I don't have any copy paper that is that big, so what I'm going to be using instead is some watercolor paper, which is not quite big enough for the whole thing, but I'm going to actually do a couple pages and it should work. And I'm going to be using some Artesprix paint, along with some stamps and dies from Catherine Pooler and Sizzix, and this is called White Christmas. So it's a bunch of snowflakes. Okay, so I pulled off a couple of sheets of the watercolor paper and I'm placing it on my blank about where I think I need it to go. So it's not going to go all the way to the edge, but it's going to come really close. And hopefully that will hold everything in place pretty much. Now I'm going to get my blank out of the way so I don't mess it up in any way. So now we've got this big piece here to cover in paint, and that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the Artesprix paint. So one thing I am pulling up so I have a better idea of what I'm doing is the color mixing chart that is on the Artesprix website. So it shows you how much of each thing you want to do. So say you want to do brick red, which I might, I haven't decided. It says to do 10 drops of red with 1 drop of brown. So that pretty much says that everything is really pigmented. So in order to get everything to switch a little bit, you do need to do a little bit of finagling with that. So anyway, I'm going to be using this as a reference as I'm going. You can use whatever colors you want for this kind of project. And I am basically keeping everything to the red, but I do want to be able to see a little bit of some variations of color in there. So I'm going to start off with just painting some of the red down on this watercolor paper. And I think I'm just going to cover the whole thing. Okay, so now that this entire thing is covered, I need to set it off to dry. For the background, I don't want it to be just red. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the red and the brown together to make that darker brown that we saw on the color mixing chart. So the instructions on the color mixing chart says 10 to 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to say that that's about 10. It's probably a little more than I need. And then we're going to mix in a drop of the brown. I think I'm going to make it let's go with 2. Make it a little bit darker than the brick red. So this should make it a color of red that's going to be dark enough to show up on top of this when we do our heating. Now for my paper pouncers, I've only used them with ink so far. And this was just done with the red ink. So they should be fine with this. And I'm planning on cleaning them anyway. They are sponges, so you can clean these. Getting the excess off of my brush. And let's give this a shot. Pouncing a little bit of it off because I don't want it to be too heavy. Okay, perfect. And using the paper pouncer does put it just on those raised edges. That's what I was wanting. Okay, let's go ahead and stamp that down. Okay, so now I have a snowflake. You can kind of see it in the corner there. And this is going to be a subtle bit I'm doing on the back. And I'm just going to put this randomly over the entire panel here. I'm going to take another one of the stamps. Actually, I'm going to actually do a couple other and do some fill-in because this looks pretty cool. But I want more snowflakes. So we're going to do some more snowflakes in the paint. We're going to do that first, and then I've got another thing up my sleeve. So for the masks, I'm using the Artesprix heat resistant transfer masks. So what I'm doing is I'm die cutting out a bunch more, a bunch more of our little snowflakes and using the die set. Now the way that I'm doing this, because I have struggled with getting dies to cut through plastic, and that's basically what you've got here. What we have is we have a piece of acetate, some clear acetate covering our tape, our big roll or a big sheet of the heat resistant tape. So you have to cut through plastic in order to do that. I have struggled with that, and I'm having a little better luck, you can see, during this little session I'm doing this morning. So I've got the acetate part facing up. Part of that, I'm just saying it out loud so I remember which side has actually got the plastic and which side has got the tape. I've got a piece of cardstock I'm putting underneath it, and then I'm also using a precision base plate to run this through. Now, I don't normally use that because whenever I use the precision base plate, it does warp my plastic plates. Okay, I normally use a magic mat. Now, the magic mat still doesn't put quite enough pressure when I'm doing something like this to be able to cut all the way through. Experiment with your sandwiches on your die cutting machine, okay? I'm also finding that I can only do a couple at a time. If I do more, then they don't all come out. So I'm going to go ahead and just die cut a few more. Yeah, I'm not sure how many I want to put on the pillow, but I'm going to go ahead and die cut a few more of these. Let's do a large one and then a small one, just to show how doing a couple at a time works fine. And I'm going to run it through. And then you're going to hear a crackling sound. And what that is the plastic you're cutting through. That's the acetate. And then I'm running it back and forth a couple of times to make sure that it's going to cut all the way through. These are also fairly intricate dies, so that's probably another reason why I've been struggling a little bit with this. And then I should be able to, looking at the back, it did cut all the way through, I should be able to pop the whole thing out. So I've also got some cardstock die cuts that I could use on another project. So that is a great twofer. Another thing that I have struggled a little bit, and I'm just going to show you guys because if you're having the same problem, is when I die cut things using this tape, it is really hard for me to separate it from the plastic. Okay, so I've got a piece of Scotch tape on one side, and then it's allowing me to start peeling it up. Now it does take a little bit of finagling and words. Anyway, it will take you a minute to do that, but you should be able to separate the plastic from your mask. And then once you're done with that, you can put the mask sticky side down onto your project wherever you want. And what's going to happen is when we heat it, this is going to stay white. It's going to protect that part of our blank. That's what makes this so fabulous. And like I said, I also have an extra one of these. So we need to make sure first off that all of the sequins are faced the right direction. You want to be able to see all of the white. Now I'm taking a dust roller and just cleaning up any dust that might still be there on the top. And then we're going to need to tape our image onto the blank. Don't you love it when I changed my mind? I decided that it would bother me more if the white snowflakes shifted than if the rest of this, if the background shifted. So I am changing how I'm doing this, because there are multiple ways that you can work with your mask. There's basically multiple ways you can do everything when it comes to crafting. I'm going to add all of my little snowflake masks onto the blank itself and let them adhere there. So they're going to stay in place even if I accidentally have an issue and the background shifts at all. Then I can trim my painted panel, my painted and stamped panel down so that it's going to fit on here nicely. So now I've just got to transfer all of these little guys over to the blank. So I've got down my protective paper, then I've got my redone blank with all of my snowflakes on there, and I'm going to slide this over so that we've got majority of this is going to be on this piece. Okay, that'll work. Then I'm going to put my painted piece over the top, leaving about an inch on all sides, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape it down. And that's because I don't want it to shift. I really don't want it to shift while I'm pressing, but I feel more confident now because I have... You tape it this way. I feel more confident now because I have those masks in place on the actual blank. Those are not going to shift regardless of what my red piece does. So I've rearranged it a couple of times. Now I had to make sure to have the zipper, which is on this side, not be anything that's going to be pressed. So it is off to the side. I've got my protective paper underneath, and then I've got my design, and I do have that protective mat underneath. Okay, and now I've got my second piece of protective paper that's going to go over the top. Now I'm going to have to press this a couple of different times because of how big it is, and my heat press is not big enough to cover the whole thing. So let's go ahead and get started on pressing that. Now the website says to heat your heat press to 400 degrees, and we're going to press for 60 seconds. Okay, I'm at the top edge, I'm top corner, and we're going to go ahead and hit the Cricut button and just wait for that 60 seconds. Okay, so let's take a look. I was careful not to shift the press, and I just want to do a little sneak peek to make sure that it transferred there. And it did. So that is perfect. Okay, so now we're going to shift it over. Now I don't have any ink on here, so now I'm going to gently shift this over, being careful not to move my design so that we have the whole thing on the heat pad, and slide this over a little bit. So now I'm going to be pressing this corner, so we're going to be pressing it 4 times. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to take a look once I get all of the pressing done. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm hoping that nothing shifted. I can already see the pink or red underneath. So this isn't going to be a dark red, you know, Christmas red. This is going to be more vibrant. Perfect. Okay, so we do have some brightness underneath there. That looks great. And now the reveal. Okay, it looks, yeah, this looks a little bit odd, and that's because of the way that I had to do the pressing. But to be honest, it does look kind of plaid-ish, so I think that's still going to work. But you can see everywhere that I overlapped, plus the fact that I had 2 layers of paper there, did kind of make it look a little bit odd. So I think what would probably work better is having a bigger heat press and having a sheet of paper or cardstock that is actually the right size. So let's go ahead and take off our snowflakes. We're going to just go with it. Okay, so even with Yeah, even with my mispressing, so don't do that. I still think this looks kind of cool with all of the snowflakes taken off. So the snowflake masking, that part worked perfect. The part that I didn't do so well was that I double pressed, which it turns out I should not have done that. Anyway, yeah, so this is going to finish up this video. I think you got some tips and tricks as to what to and not to do. And I got myself a sequin pillowcase. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.